Good day, everyone. We are the Group 3 and we will discuss the concept of elasticity. But before we proceed to our discussion, you may have wondered why there are goods that you purchase more or less when price becomes less or more, while there are goods that even if prices becomes too high and low, still you purchase the same quantity of that good. If you have asked yourself why and tried to look for an answer, you are actually trying to understand and explain the concept of elasticity. In this chapter, we will learn the meaning of elasticity and we will learn also why this concept is very important in our everyday decision making as a consumer.
Good day, ma'am. I'm Corbera Kalajuji, and now I will start reporting from elasticity. So, what is elasticity? In economics, it means responsiveness or sensitivity. In general, in the ratio of the percent change in one variable to the percent to change in another variable. It is a tool used by economics to measure the reactions of a function to changes in parameters in a relative way. Why use elasticity? For economics, it allows to quantify the differences among markets without standardizing the unit's measurement, as elasticity provides a unit-free measure. The concept of elasticity is not only helpful for the economist, but the concept can be applied to business decisions making, formulations of tax policies in the government, and determining the rewards of the factors production. Example for the airline industry, soft drinks, cereals, clothing, cars, etc. When their competitors increase price, they maintain for the sake of the consumers. So that competitors increase their price, their demand for its service will be going to decrease. And that's why firm that is maintained or be referred to the consumer as low price, we have that demand increases. Elasticity of demand. It is a measure of the degree of responsiveness of quantity demand of a product to a given change in one of the independent variables which affect demand for the product. There are three factors of classifying elasticity of demand. First, the price elasticity of demand, which is the responsiveness of consumers' demand to change in price of goods sold. Next is the income elasticity of demand, is the responsiveness of consumers' demand to a change in their income. Lastly is the cross elasticity of demand, is the responsiveness of demand for a certain good in relation to changes in price of other related goods. First, we will identify the price elasticity of demand. We are dealing with the sensitivity of quantities both by the consumers to change in the product price, an action that is within the producer's control according to Keith and Young. It is also referred to as demand elasticity, as the percentage change in quantity demanded caused by 1% change in price. The equation for price elasticity of demand is ED or elasticity of demand is equals to percentage change in quantity demanded over percentage change in price. There are two different methods of computation, the point elasticity of demand method and the arc elasticity of demand method. First is the point elasticity of demand method. This computes the elasticity of demand at a particular point in a curve or between 2 points. So the equation of this is it is equals to Q2 minus Q1 over Q1 over to P2 minus P1 divided by P1. Now we will proceed to the arc elasticity of demand method or midpoint method. This measures the midpoint between two selected points. The formula or the equation is EP is equals to Q2 minus Q1 over Q1 plus Q2 divided to 2 divided by P2 minus P1 over P1 plus P2 over 2. So again, the Q1 is represented as original quantity demanded and the Q2 is the new quantity demand and the P1 is the original price, and also the P2 is the new price. Let's use the value represented according to the equation. So Q2 is equivalent as 10 minus Q1, that is 0, over 0 plus 10 divided by 2, divided by P2, which is 4, minus P1, that is 6, over 6 plus 4 divided by 2. So 10 minus 0 is equals to 0. Then 0 plus 10 is equals to 10 divided to 2, that is 5, and divided by 4 minus 6 is equals to negative 2 over 5. That is the answer for 6 plus 4 is equals to 10 over 2. Next is when we divide fractions, we will going to cross multiply it. So 10 times 5 is equals to 50. Then over 5 times negative 2 is equals to negative 10. Then let's divide it. 50 divided by negative 10 is equals to negative 5, or our price elasticity of demand is negative 5 or 5. This is an example of demand curve, showing that the demand of notebooks is increased from 200 to 300, and the price decreases from 4 to 3. So the original price there is 4 and the new price is 3, and then original quantity is 200 and the new quantity demand is 300. Now let's first solve in the equation of point elasticity of demand method, which is equals to Q2 minus Q1 over Q1 over P2 minus P1 is divided to P1 equals to 300 minus 200 divided by 200, then over 3 minus 4 is divided to 4. First, let us subtract the 300 to 200 equals to 10 divided to 200. Next, over to 3 minus 4, which is equals to negative 1 divided by 4. So the answer of 10 divided by 200 is 0.5, and negative 1 divided by 4 is negative 0.25. So we will looking further percentage. Now let's move on to the arc elasticity of demand, or midpoint method. EP is equals to Q2 minus Q1 over Q1 plus Q2 is divided to 2, divided by P2 minus P1 over P1 plus P2 is divided to 2. Then the Q2 is 300 minus Q1, that is 200, over 200 plus 300 divided into 2, divided by 3 minus 4 over 4 plus 3 is divided into 2. So the answer of 300 minus 200 is 100, and the over 200 plus 300 is equals to 500 divided into 2, which is equals to 250. Next, divided by 3 minus 4 is equals to negative 1 over 3 over 4 plus 3 is equals to 7 divided by 2. The answer is 3.5. Again, in multiplying the fractions, we will going to cross multiply it. So first, 100 times 3.5 is equals to 350 over 250 times negative 1 is equals to negative 250. Our price elasticity of demand is equals to 1.4 or 4. So in comparing the point elasticity of demand and the arc elasticity of demand, in point elasticity of demand is like it's a direct method or direct computation, and unlike in arc elasticity of demand, it is like separated, the quantities and the price, and also on how they solve it. And in point elasticity of demand, I will looking for the percentage in below before the price elasticity, demand, and next will be reported by Daniel Grace Dabalos, to be followed by Dorina Quadra, and last by Nino Danao.
So let me continue the report. My topic is about interpretation of the elasticity coefficient. So for the economist, solving the elasticity is only a tool rather an end in itself. So what is important to them? The important to them is to understand the meaning of computed elasticity coefficient. So now our concern is how to analyze and interpret the elasticity coefficient. Actually, there are only certain rules to remember in analyzing and interpreting the elasticity coefficient, which is the inelastic and elastic. So what is inelastic? Inelastic demand means that a producer or seller can raise prices without much hurting demand for its product, and elastic demand means the consumers are sensitive to the price at which a product is sold and will only buy it if the price rises by what they consider too much. So, inelastic. If consumers will pay almost any price for the product, let's say for example, the price of gasoline increases by 1%. So, and the quantity demanded only falls 0.2%, and we can say that the demand for gasoline is not very sensitive. This means that if the price of the product increases, consumers will still buy the good because there is a need for the gasoline. So, we can say if it is inelastic, if the price increases but we still buy or get the product despite of the increase of the price. However, the demand for a product may be elastic if consumers will only pay a certain price or a narrow range of prices for the product. Let's say for example, the price of gold jewelry increases by 1%. But the quantity demanded falls by 2.6%, the computed price elasticity of demand is negative 2.6. This means that the demand for the gold jewelry is very price sensitive, such that when the gold price shoots up, demand for the gold can largely go down. And we can say that demand is elastic if the computed elasticity coefficient is greater than 1. Now, we proceed to graphical illustration. So, the price elasticity of demand can also be analyzed graphically. So, we have to remember there are two, elastic demand curve and inelastic demand curve. So, first, I will show you the figure 3.2, which is elastic demand curve. So, as you observe, the slope of the elastic demand curve is flatter. So, thus, the more demand curve becomes horizontal, the greater it becomes elastic. This is because a small change in price, like in a figure 3.2, the 3 pesos, from 3 pesos to 1 pesos, the results to a larger change in quantity demanded is, say, from 5 to 35 units. Like, the broken line A to B is shorter than broken line to B and C. So this means that if demand is elastic, more quantities of a good is demanded when the price changes even by a smaller percentage. So in this case, we can say that consumers respond greatly to a small change in price. On the other hand, in figure 3.3, as we observe, the slope of an inelastic demand curve is steeper or more vertical. In fact, the more the demand curve becomes steeper or vertical, the greater it becomes inelastic. Why? Because a large change in the price, like from 3 pesos to 1 peso, results to a small change in quantity demanded, and from 15 units to 20 units, as illustrated in the graph, we can observe that the broken line A to B is longer than broken line B to C. So implying that less quantities of a good is purchased even when there is a large change in price of the good. So under this situation, we can say that the consumer's response in buying a good is lesser than the change in price.
Now that we have described what elasticity, let's have the question, what determines elasticity? So, there are important factors that influence demand elasticity. First is of substitution. So, if there are many goods substitute for the product sold in the market, elasticity for that product will be high. However, the broader the definition of a commodity, the lower its price elasticity will tend to become because there is a less opportunity for substitutes.
So, another major reason is the proportion of total expenditure spent on product. Like for example, if the current price of rice is 5 peso per kilo and it will increase to 6 pesos per kilo, we may shark off the 1 peso increase since its effect on in our total expenditure is very negligible. So, however, for certain products like appliances and techno gadget like mobile phones, computers, and iPad, the situation may be entirely different. Hence, we can expect that the demand elasticity for an air conditioning unit to be considerably high than that for rice. Another reason is the durability of the product. So, the high elasticity of this product, that a new appliance purchase can be postponed because there is a choice between buyers and repairing. Faced with a higher purchase price, a consumer may choose to repair his or her old appliance instead of purchasing a brand new. So last, we have Length of Time Period by Kate and Young, 2006. So, as markets broaden, more and more product substitution becomes possible. Advance in mode of transportation and communication, accompanied by decrease in their cost, have increased the size of markets over time. Consequently, the number of substitutes competing for consumers' demand has increased, and in fact, markets have not only widened on national scale, they have crossed national borders, brought about by increase in international trade due mainly to international agreement like the World Trade Organization and other regional trade blocs like Asian Free Trade Agreement among Asian member countries and Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation. So, the other factors include the nature of commodity, influence of habits, range of prices, income groups, since higher income or budget of the consumer creates greater elasticity. To conclude, that are the factors that determines elasticity. Price elasticity of demand and changes in total revenue. So elasticity provides information on the effects of price changes to total revenue. We have the formula total revenue equals selling price multiplied by quantity sold. So for example, in figure 3.4, the total revenue with elastic demand, we have the price of good is 5 pesos and the sold items are 50 units. So the total revenue will be 250 because the 5 pesos, which is the selling price, multiplied by quantity sold, which is the 50 units, and when you multiplied it, it will result 250 and that will be the total revenue. So now, if the firm decides to decrease the price to 3 pesos, the degree of price elasticity of demand curve would determine the change in the increase of the demand. So here, in the figure 3.4, the area of A to D is the total revenue 5 pesos and the units will be 50 and when it when the demand will decrease in 3 pesos, then the units will be 90. Since the area F2A, the total revenue is 330. Since the 3 pesos is the selling price and the quantity sold is 90 units. So we will multiply it, then the results will be 330, and that is our total revenue. Okay, now let's proceed to figure 3.5, total revenue with inelastic demand. So the observation here is we have 10 down to 5 pesos and the units 15 to 20 units. So 10 units, we have the quantity demand is 15 units. The 5 pesos, the quantity demand is 20. So if the demand is inelastic and the firm decides to lower the price of its good from 10 pesos to 5 pesos, the total revenue would be decreased from 150 to 100.
Good day everyone, my name is Dorina M. Quadra and I'm the one who report this topic. It's all about extreme elasticities of demand. At the extreme, demand can be perfectly price inelastic, that is, price changes have no effect at all on quality demanded. And this is the perfectly inelastic demand curve. It's illustrated a straight vertical line. You can see the price and quality. Why the demand is a vertical line? Because it's even the price will increase be more than 100%, still the amount of the good that will be bought will be equal. So that's why the demand is a vertical line. On the other hand, demand can be perfectly price elastic, that is, any amount will be demanded only at the prevailing price. So there is the perfectly elastic demand curve is illustrated as a straight horizontal line. There are price, quality, and demand. Why the demand is horizontal line? Because if the price will increase by even a minuscule amount or very small percentage, consumer will not anymore purchase the goods. That's why the demand is horizontal line. Perfectly elastic demand is when the demand for a product changes, increase or decrease, even when there is no change in price. This means that the quality demand is as price sensitive as possible. Now, let's proceed the income elasticity of demand. Income elasticity of demand measures the degree to which consumer responds to a change in their incomes by purchasing more or less of the particular good. The coefficient of income elasticity of demand is determined with a formula. Elasticity coefficient equals percentage change in quality demanded divided by percentage change in income. Y is representative of original income, AD is representative of elasticity of demanded, equals change in the quality demanded divided by original quantity demanded plus change in income divided by original income, equals quantity demanded 2 minus quantity 1 divided by quantity 1 plus original income 2 minus original income 1 divided by original income 1. Income elasticity of demand, we have to distinguish a normal goods from an inferior goods. A good is considered a normal goods if a rise in income brings an increase in demand, and a fall in income brings a decrease in income. For most good, the income elasticity coefficient is positive, meaning that more than them are demanded as income rise. However, the value of coefficient varies greatly among normal goods. To illustrate the formula given, consider an income of the consumer which is 2,500 pesos, wherein he or she is able to buy 20 boxes of muffin. But when his or her income increased to 3,000 pesos, he or she to purchase 25 boxes of muffin. So now let's compute this income elasticity of demand. So copy the formula of income elasticity of demand and the amount by the given. 25 minus 20, close parenthesis, divided by 20, plus 3,000 minus 2,500, close parenthesis, divided by 2,500. So, 25 minus 20 equals 5. Bring down the 20. 3,000 minus 2,500 equals 500. So, bring down the 2,500. 5 divided by 20 equals 0.25. 500 divided by 2,500 equals 0.2. So, the original income is 0.45, not 1.5. There are also two types of normal goods. Number one is necessities, which are considered to be income inelastic since these goods cater to our basic human needs that no matter how much the price changes. Number two is luxury, have a good high income elasticities that they can be easily give up when they are an increase in their prices. So that's all my part. Thank you so much.
Cross elasticity of demand. It measures the responsiveness of demand to changes in the prices of other goods, indicating how much more or less of particular product is purchased as other prices. The cross elasticity of demand can be calculated with any product or services. It is defined as the percentage change in the quantity demanded of one good divided by a percentage change in the price of related good. Thus, the formula for cross elasticity of demand is, as we have already noted, two goods are considered substitutes if there is positive relationship between the quantity demanded of one good and the price of the other good. For example, an increase in the price of bananas increases the demand for mangoes as consumers substitute mangoes for bananas. For more specific example, the price of burger falls by 10% and the demand for pizza decreased by 5%. The cross elasticity for pizza with respect to the price of burger is negative 5% because percentage change in the quantity of demanded, so pizza demanded for pizza decreases by 5%. So ang atay butang diri kay negative 5% man kay decreases man, so negative 5% divided by negative 10% kaning baba man negative 10%, so equals by, so the result is positive 0.50. Same negative sign, so positive. The cross elasticity of demand for a substitute is positive. Another example, the price of Coke falls by 10% and the quantity of pizza you demanded is increased by 2%. The cross elasticity of demand for pizza with respect to the price of Coke is positive 2% kay demanded increase man by 2%, so positive 2 divided by negative 10% equals, so the result is negative 0.20. Positive divided by negative, so negative. The cross elasticity of demand are useful to retailers in their pricing decisions. So let's proceed to the elasticity of supply. Elasticity of supply refers to the reaction or response of the seller or producer to price change of goods sold. It is measure of the degree of responsiveness of supply to a given change in price. It is the percentage change in the quantity supplied given percentage in price. The formula is percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price, or Q2 minus Q1 divided by, close on open parenthesis, Q1 plus Q2 divided by 2, then P2 minus P1 divided by close and open parenthesis P1 plus P2 divided by 2. So, sample. Suppose the price of the rice increased from 20p to 22p. The quantity supplied increases from 100 million metric tons to 120 million metric tons. In other words, in 10% increase in the price of rice increase the quantity supplied by 20% using the formula for the supply elastic by arc method. Q2 is 120, then Q1 is 100. Then divided by close and open parenthesis 100 plus 120 divided by 2. So 120 minus 100 is 20. Then 100 plus 120 divided by 2 is 110. Then P2 is 22. Then minus sa P1 20. Then 20 plus 22 divided by 2. So 22 minus 20 is 2. Then 20 plus 22 divided by 2 is 21. Then 20 divided by 110 is 0.18. Then 2 divided by 21 is 0.09. Then 0.18 divided by 0.09 is, the result is 2. If a percentage change in price result in more than proportionate change in quantity supplied, then quantity supplied is said to be price elastic. So figure 3.7 supplied elasticity. The figure illustrates an elastic supply curve. An elastic supply curve is flatter than a normal supply curve. This is because a smaller change in price, broken line BE, calls for a greater change in quantity supplied, broken line CB. If a change in price produces a less than proportionate change in the quantity supplied, that then supply is considered price inelastic. Figure 3.8 supply inelastic. This figure illustrates an inelastic supply curve. An inelastic supply curve is more vertical than a normal supply curve. This is because any change in price, broken line BE calls for the smaller change in quantity supplied, broken line CB. What determines supply elasticity? Two factors can be identified. The first one is time. Time is a determinant of supply elasticity, as producers respond to changes in price from time to time given a certain period. Then second one is time horizon. Time horizon, the longer the time period, the greater the elasticity, as consumers have more time to adapt and find substitutes. There are two extreme types of supply elasticity. The first one is perfectly inelastic. The perfectly inelastic, a service or commodity, has a perfectly inelastic supply of given quantity of it, can be supplied whatever might be the price. The second one is perfectly elastic. Perfectly elastic supply, a commodity with a perfectly elastic supply has an infinite elasticity. That's all. Thank you.